Hello again, and welcome back to the use and abuse of Laura Endicott. This is chapter the 10th, Reunion, Scene 1. It was thus under this shadow, furtive but ever in touch with my corporeal being, that I had travelled to London some weeks later to intercept Philip and apprise him of both my loyalty, which in itself was unmoved, and yet also my concern for him. I had fallen in love with him, and it was only the age in which we both by chance had lived that prevented such a crystallization from occurring in each other's midst. The epistolary form was then still the only distantiated form, and thus it could take on such things as falling in love and bear them up, akin to what music did for the human soul, and port them across the intervening distances in order that their humanity be intimately shared. This astonishing phenomenon was made the easier by the fact that I knew even before he had parted from me that he was in love with me. I held that to my fragile breast now in the train carriage, flying across the countryside between Cambridge and the World City, the city of world empire, and panting, even gasping, with genuine anticipation, and yet, alas, a false liberation. I as well held my breath against the fates themselves, but perhaps it was not so much the fates that were ranged against us, but rather the furies, for Olivia was fury embodied. She resembled, in her cold rage, the personification of justice in and as a statue, with the singular exception that Olivia's eyes were opened wide upon her justice. Just that very morning, however, I now recalled to myself an odd conversation I had had at the very entrance to the great house. I had heard the bell rung, as I was myself about to leave, and as none of the staff happened to see me off, I found myself standing face to face with an older woman, frail, with an expectant look on her face. "Can I help you, dear?" "Oh, yes, please, ma'am. I am looking for my daughter, Martha Owens. I am her mother. She had written to say she would be home for her birthday, but we never saw her. I presume she was taken up with her duties here." My God. Think now. Stand and deliver, girl. With this yet other phrase hailing from hilliards of evil memory prodding me on, I took it up, as bald-faced as ever. She, in fact, left the employ of Montford's many weeks ago, I fear. A young man had been courting her, so I heard, and indeed she made no attempt to evade scrutiny upon this account, and left together quite openly. Indeed, we have an entirely new staff of servants here at Ormond, as I myself have only been here not 4 months. That is so strange. Yes, Martha. She'd been in Sir Hugh's service for some 5 years or so. She had never cause to complain of it. But then again, of course, she was getting older, and as a woman, she may well have taken another kind of opportunity. Was any inquiry made as to exactly who this person was? Not to my knowledge, no. I shall ask, if you leave me your address, but as I noted, almost everyone here is now new, and you may have heard that both Lady Montfort and Sir Hugh are deceased, yes, the one by natural causes, and the other by his own hand, I regret. Good Lord, I did not think a person in his position, at the very apex of society, should have such travails, but I suppose the death of his wife, yes. That is what each and all of us have settled upon. It is the only rational explanation for such an act. Love is not absent amongst the aristocracy, but that said, precisely because it is not, all of its other lesser effects may also be found. That is a very wise way of putting things. You are? I am Laura Endicott, the manager and governess. She widened her eyes and dipped deeply now, out of customary respect for my position in the great house. I waved this off, and actually travelled with her all the way back to town, whence we parted. The worst thing about the encounter was not my dishonesty in the face of a concerned parent, but that I felt so little compunction about lying at all. London had, in the interim, sprung up all about me, and the train slowed to match speed with suburban lines as to not overtake their runs. At some point we came to a complete halt, as another string of carriages whisked across our path. Philip and I would only be here for 3 short days. That was what our depleted finances demanded. Then we would have to reach a decision. I had the momentarily wild idea of fleeing all the way to America, for I had heard of a grand plan to build a public university in every one of their states, which themselves numbered many. I vowed I would at least broach this, and even tell of it to the sisters, so that they would know that on the one side we could not very well betray them from over there, and on the other, Olivia would presumably not go to such geographic lengths to hunt us down. I took a hansom to the hotel, which I shall not name in order to avoid sullying its august reputation. I waited in its lobby, being glanced at by a variety of gentlemen, both younger and older. This was the world, or its incipients, multitudes of people milling about or striding with purpose, ladies possessed by their children, self-possessed in their sensibilities, or yet servants to their husbands, persons who owned mere things and persons who owned other persons, those clambering upwards and those who had been toppled from perches diverse and sundry. No one was invaluable, which meant that all were expendable. I caught myself, for I had begun to see the world through different eyes. No, in fact, I was becoming inured to the hardness and coldness of said world before e'er I set foot within Armand's other world. Then I saw him. With a gasp of relief, I flung myself in his direction. He had not seen me until I was right on top of him, and I pulled up for fear I should knock the wind from his frame. He took me into his arms, so familiar and yet so absent as to have become foreign in their touch. Then we held one another, there, near the foot of the grand staircase, to some amusement of passers-by. I sought his lips. They were like two leather saddles upon which I would soon mount and ride into blessed oblivion. No, do not speak. Take me and love me. Just love me. This was all I got out of my mouth as he led me up the first set of stairs and again until we had reached our rooms. Yes, blessed one, the one who knows the world and nothing other than that world, love me and again. I had no thoughts, nay, not even true feelings, but rather sensations which propelled me to bliss, and just when I thought I could attain nothing higher, nothing deeper, I did so, we did so, for this was love. Yes, love, unbridled and unashamed, but the more so, unaware, and in becoming all too aware of the deeds and thoughts of another world to this one that was far older, and yet now so marginal, one that had seen its day come and go for 1,000 years or more, and one which had inherited its rights and its credo from yet another age, perhaps primordial and thus timeless. I had lost touch with the reality of my own age. Philip, bring me back into the arms of the world. Let your breast be the harbor of vessels unsinkable. Let your spirit transcend the noisome thoughts unthinkable. Yes, oh yes, Philip, how I have missed thee, how I have tortured thee, so now torture me in return. Let me gather no sheaves of wisdom here, no memories, just the raw essence of what it means to be alive. It was the better part of that first day before I felt in the least sated. I lolled back on the bed. He gazed at me not so much in reverence, but rather in downright awe. The spell had been unbroken for hours and hours, and indeed it was the chime of the little clock on the mantel that ended this racy, raucous reverie we so civil humans call intimacy. Its brusque burlesque slamming headlong into its salacious salon, its ability to charge its own calamity over against any world crisis, its sheer knowing of another as the necessity of deeper selfhood. This is love. Yes, this is love. When we were first like this, you had the energy of a lithe leopardess, but now you are a veritable tigress. He panted it out. I barely had the energy to smile at him, though I felt that my entire being was one giant grinning cat. Philip, I beg of you, tell me of the world now. Perhaps for a mere few moments tell me that it yet exists, and yet it has not exhausted itself forevermore. His eyes widened, but evidently he thought I a mirth-maker. I shook my head at him, trying to summon some mock sternness, but I found I could not journey into anything resembling either my official position or hailing from within the distance of my own education in general. No, for I was in the midst of the deepest of human life, and no Socius could breach that limit. Nothing of society and its druthers could step over the ruling ring of fire that defended that sidereal circle of the two in one, could ever cross. You are serious, then? Good heavens, my love! Oh, by the way, I have fallen in love with you, in case you had not the occasion to note it. I was atop him again, though we were both by now almost spent. Oh, we are young, so young. Should it be that we now shun the very road to aging, to growing older at all, Philip? Oh! I had shrieked aloud, and Philip had enveloped me with his form. I was shaking with the intuition, and only slowly did it form in my mind as an actual worded proposal. It was not prescience, but rather its opposite, and though Sarah's confession to her sister about why she had murdered their father had stunned me at the time, this was yet more shocking, for I now, suddenly and without warning, knew why the father had in fact sought the daughter. What on earth? Philip was always gentle, more so than I felt I deserved. It was not my mischief which he adored. No, it was that I did, after all, have something of that nobility about me, that diffidence and that arrogance and that superiority, which as a child had made me the topmost student at Hilliard's. Indeed, I had striven to be so just to express my outright indignation at its ways and means. For here I was, the very best of the best, yet undisciplined in any way, a living, breathing contradiction to everything such a place and all those like them stood for and stood upon. I knew I had moved the headmistress, for she had, the final time we had met, right after convocation, referred to me as setting a standard hitherto unknown. I replied with dignity that it should not be unknowable, and received an admiring nod in return. This was the last time I would care to mind my manners, in spite of the fact I was officially no longer a student at the school. At Cambridge, this sensibility, this attitude, this personality, I have not truly the name for it at all, as Olivia had pointed out often enough, made me a college leader. The faculty respected me, desired me to take further degrees, as Philip had himself been doing. But there was by that time no money. Good Lord, there is no money. Philip, once again, I beg you, I shall get on my hands and knees before you, and I should let you beat me each day, harrow my nakedness, just as it is said marriage meant for a woman in times bygone to our own. I should let you discipline me, indeed treat me as your slave, if you just vow to me your absolute trust. Laura, Laurel, you goddess, thou art Aphrodite's sole daughter, and that, if Rome was the child of Greece, makes you Venus herself. Silly. Oh, so beautifully silly, Philip, I am the willing accessory to murder in self-defense, and the indirect accessory to 4 other murders of vengeance. That maketh 5, Philip, 5 persons who, however vile, have as part of their afterlife the right to chide my spirit in the night. Philip's mouth had hung open for a moment, which in general I found most desirable. He blinked, then cocked his head with some whimsy and said, "And so do they?" I could not but begin to laugh, but the nerves in me were taking hold of that laughter and threatening to turn it into that maniacal. Philip held me to him once again. "May you never stop holding me. Yes, I should be your slave, for I am not only a terror in my own right, I am recently unworthy of being loved." Presently, "As a matter of fact, they do not. I dare say they might have targets more salient to their fates." And yet there was no possibility at all, of Olivia, for one, ever being disturbed night or day by such deeds as she had wrought in the other world. Her sister was much more of an enigma to me. "Well, then, are you asking me to be your judge and jury, or only your father confessor?" "You should be my schoolhead and thrash the living daylights out of me. Philip, oh, Philip, my letters to you, they told of only the least of it." "So did Sir Hugh kill himself, or no?" "Philip, do not ask me that. How could you?" Seeing my face, he immediately retracted his query, but I shook my head. "Philip, this is the whole of it, though you bring forward only one actual instance thereof. I am now placed in a position where I must follow my conscience and not my heart, and when I do so, I shall lose all, including perhaps my very life. And thus you are so placed, my perfect love, we together. If I e'er harmed a hair on your head, you should vanquish me forever. But I take it this is no mischief upon your part, mischief playful and desireful, and altogether adorable. Oh, that I wish that it was, that you'd very well thrash me and bring me to bless again and again, if I were some wayward waif, run away from punishment well-deserved and oh so lacking. Philip, we are in danger, and I know not how to evade it with any finality. I wonder, had you thought to seek employ in America?" Now he was attending, and indeed ahead of me. His visage had become suddenly serious, which was all so rare for him. Philip was, as a person, nay, as a being, in such absolute contrast to those residents of Arlemont that I had been stunned into a torpor of shame after we had concluded what would be, during that trinity of resurrected days, merely our first round of intimacies. "Good Lord, Laura, I should not let you hang over my own corpse, as might be said. I do not care what you know, nay, what you may have even done. Over against the world I invoke the rule of love alone, and if you needs be punished under this rule, it shall be a blissful lashing, my darling goddess. Oh, and I know it shall be, and I desire it, I will it. But, Philip, I suggest emigration, simply as a manner to prove my utter fealty to my ex-charges." "Oh, so that is it. Humph." Then his face had returned to its usual jesting jowl, its winking, whimsical weft. "I suppose I should have known when we first met. The girl just become a woman, sitting in a tavern with an oversized beer in front of her nose, contemplating its liquid as if it were the means of a deeper alchemy. But you are, after all, the perfect girlish womanhood that no man would e'er refuse, Laura. You make a mountain, surely. What on Darwin's greener earth could have transpired that we should flee for our lives before it? I know this is out of all sense, Philip. It is the very substitution of sense. Not even for sensibility, but rather sensitivity. But 5 murders! In my own mind, I have reconciled my minor role in each of them. One occurred before I was even present at the estate. 3 others happened without my simultaneous presence. Good, yes, good. And the 5th? The 4th in chronology, but yes, I was present for that, and indeed the one who killed saved I myself from injury and indignity. And so you are now feeling the tension between being grateful, righteously indignant, and yet legally culpable. Ah, damn you. Are you a student of ethics after all? Did you, in the home of philosophy, undergo a conversion that you have hid from me? I said this, of course, with a good nature. I would never direct curses at the man I loved, and for whom I would enslave myself, especially given the truer, and thus far more abject slavery I had, in the interim, witnessed. Slavery, yes, that was the only word for it. First, 2 girls enslaved by their parents, and now, perhaps the worst, enslaved to their own skewed wills. But that is it, is it not? Yes. Oh, Philip, do I not deserve daily discipline and err on? I who have never felt the rod. Utter nonsense. How can anyone with even a semblance of a conscience, and yours is the most capacious I have yet known to exist, not feel exactly what you are yourself comprehending? I now feel it with you, as I feel your every thought and sensation. Yes, it is uncomfortable, even annoying, but it is far from fatal. Indeed, it tells me that you have not, as you have imputed in your serial reports to me, fallen bodily into the abyss. Not at all. Truly. Have you yourself killed, or yet done even an injury to another person? No, not even an injury. Not guilty, my lord. I closed my eyes, and yet the tears ran freely. I could not face him for a moment or two, but he raised up my chin and winked at me. Then he reached round and gave me a truly stinging swat across my posterior that made me yip. I pushed him over and mounted him yet again, and this time we recovered a portion of our earlier dealings. Presently, you are like a god yourself, an antique one, with no conception of forgiveness or, for that matter, pity. Perhaps you are, after all, in the right. I do not require either. That is what you are telling me. Yes, precisely that. But that is the personal side of the equation. I think I glean from your entire disposition, excuse the term. Aye, that is a concise way of putting it. Even if I absolve myself, I am not absolved by those who have placed their trust, nay, their very life's faith, in my bearing and in my integrity. These 2 girls, then. Yes, but they are not girls in anything but age, Philip, not girls at all. For one, it is now, of course, the Lady Miss Montfort, and by gods, Philip, you must give her that due, and nothing else besides. And then her younger sister is kindred to the Furies themselves. She is downright dangerous, my love, and you shall not cross her. And how old are they again? Damn it, Philip, I just told you. Now, for the first time, my anxiousness had gotten the better of me. Philip cast his eyes down, and this time it was I who had to clasp his chin, caress his cheek, and level his face, so that our eyes once again met. Philip, Sarah is the mistress of the estate, a young chatelaine, to be sure, but growing in her capabilities each day. The other, Olivia, might as well be ageless. In truth, I do not know what powers she possesses, and though I have never yet showed it to her face, I can be terrified of her, Philip. And you, even as a man hale, and, well, shall we say, to stay civil, hearty, would do well to at the very least respect her. I should never have thought to disrespect her, even if she was the most demure angel upon this earth. No, oh, of course not. I err. Oh, perhaps I should have been treated as were all the other girls. Maltreated, you mean? The board schools are evil. The fact that you were compelled to attend one makes you not utterly different from these sisters of yours. Am I correct? They do see me as one of their own, though a rather dissolute example. Humph. Well, if anything, you have me full of intrigue. Aside from the mystery afoot, there are these 2 young ladies who defy the very world that has given them belated birth. I dare say I admire them. From a distance, Philip, yes, do admire them, but from afar, and in all honesty, there is much to admire about the both of them. Sarah is courageous beyond believing, and though her wit is perhaps only average, she is herself a born leader. It is merely her youth that inhibits that leadership's perfect judgment. Can we ourselves speak of such? No, we cannot. No, at least I dare not. For her part, Olivia is quite possibly a genius, one of the shadows, perhaps, but nevertheless. She is a painter of decent quality, an aspiring poet, with insight drastic and daring, a crack shot, and also a thinker. She herself was looking forward to your presence, at least in that one vein. The salons of Paris come home to roost. Ha! Well, the period of the encyclopedists is long over. I saw not a shred of its residence at the Sorbonne, for instance. What of that, Philip? What did they say to you? Oh, I was crestfallen at first, but my central faculty member, my mentor, had written to the Cambridge Department of History, King's College this time, and recommended me. I myself received a letter from them in return inviting me to attend their autumn program of study. Paris said it was up to me, and of course you were, shall we say, the intervening variable. What does it all mean, then? It means that I am here to stay. But you are saying that our welcome at, Arlemont? Yes, our joint welcome there is more upon the mistresses than upon her sister. Yes, that is one way of putting it, the most mild way, I fear. The stakes are these, my one love. They have promised to kill us if we betray them. That is it, in one word. The word, if you will. Philip had to shake that one off. For a moment I had to suppress a chortle, as he looked like a cat who'd gotten its head wet. Well, I can only presume that given your performance atop this rather mediocre mattress for much of the day, that you are not ready to die. Not quite ready, but Philip, I mean it. This is serious. In all honesty, I am unsure of how to proceed. I feel that any move we make will be taken awry, and thus place us both in imminent danger. I feel your seriousness, my darling girl, but rationally, I find it difficult to take it completely seriously. You just yourself said that it was all out of sense. Suppose then we play along, for it does seem like the fairy tale enacted, does it not? A story that would appeal to the children yet at large within these youthful consciousnesses you have taken for imminent adults. Yes, it is that in one respect. The cruelly mistreated princesses bonding in their shared misery, thence banding together to take upon them a just and righteous revenge. And in so far that is all it is, I am behind it, and behind them. But it seems more to me, having lived there with them and seen them both enacting it, for they are not princesses, Philip, fairy or otherwise. They are, perhaps fittingly, given Sir Hugh's vocation, more akin to politicians. Perhaps this, too, is a clue for your historian's mind. They claim the ancient code of pre-feudal honor as their own. Pre-feudal? I wonder if it is mere bigotry to suggest that anything of that antiquity is either despotism, as they had in the Orient, or plain simple savagery. Olivia is savage in her tempers. I assure you, my eternal love, she is not to be crossed. I myself have never focused so singularly in confronting her, and yet I have done so, perhaps to my everlasting peril. You speak of the board schools, and you are correct in your estimation of them, especially those, I imagine, reserved for boys. You told me you were schooled in the home. I was fortunate, though such moneys as had my parents were beholden to such preparation. I owe them much, and hence I am intent on paying off that debt of mentorship. They would have no cause of complaint given your next stop, I declare. Perhaps not. But you were saying. What I meant to say, simply by analogy of my own experience, I admit, was that dealing with Olivia has put all else into mere mimesis, shadow, simulacrum. There is no headmistress in the land who can strike the same fear into one's very soul as does this young woman. That is almost amusing. I do take your point, my love. I am not in any way defying your experience. I have never met them, and you are attempting to prepare me the best you can. And of course I must speak only for myself, and not only by definition. I was, as you know, utterly exempt from any real danger at Hilliard's, though it seemed I was the only such creature. Hence my nerves were steeled by what was, in a sense, a cheat. Even so, this rare rubric made me what I am today. The very person who can face down the devil. Not so much face her down as parley with her. And to be fair, Philip, Olivia is not the devil. She is certainly clever enough to be so, but she has been wronged. Her justice is, in its germ, both correct and righteous. It is just that there is a thin line between righteousness and self-righteousness. Yes, indeed there was. Had I myself thus lost the ability to distinguish between the two of them? Yes, beloved wisdom of my soul, and yes, the devil imagined that he too was wronged. And was he not? Oh, Philip, yes, perhaps he was. The antique god with whom my parents were, thankfully merely dilettantish, was a selfish sort, I suppose, unwilling to share heaven's authority, nay, yet authorship. That is well put. May I dare suggest that you take a graduate course in philosophy, or yet theology? To this I snatched up a pillow and threw it at him, our ensuing laughter most contagious. There was nothing else for it. I thence abandoned myself to our shared desires, and we ended up dining fashionably late, as it said. The remainder of our London sojourn was spent similarly, visiting galleries and museums in between visiting upon one another, and by the end of it I could not quite tell which was the more profound. Thank you for listening.